Welcome back, everybody, to United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and it's deadline day. It's not really. I mean, I guess it kind of is deadline day, but at the same time, not really deadline day, if you know what I'm getting at, but not the real deadline day. Deadline day usually falls on my birthday every year, so it's always a good or bad transfer-related birthday, but it is the first little mini window of this newly expanded summer transfer window that we've got going on. You know, the window does slam shut in roughly 30 minutes, I believe, to accommodate the Club World Cup prep for some reason, because apparently clubs were allotted this time this week between when the Club World Cup starts so they can register all these players to get them in time. I don't know why we've done that, but it is what it is. The window is going to reopen on the 16th, so right before it starts. But maybe this means that clubs like United will be scrambling to get some deadline day deals over the line. I did put a poll in the chat, so make sure that you get involved in that poll. And, you know, whether or not we think we can get something done before this next half hour, but I doubt it. But that's what we're here to discuss. We're continuing on a little bit from the short I put out yesterday. Didn't have a whole lot of time yesterday to do a full vid, but I did want to make sure I at least put out something, get your thoughts. You can call it a little preview, maybe a trailer of today's show, because we're going to talk about some of that as well, because we just haven't had a chance to have a discussion yet. And you guys know that's why this channel exists. It's not about me, it's about you. So that's what we're going to discuss today. Be sure to go check out, while you're waiting for all the Club World Cup nonsense, go check out the Keep Sell video that went out last week with Dylan and I. That was a fun video. If you've got a couple hours to kill, if you've got a couple hours to watch bullshit movies, you got time to watch Keep Sell video, right? I mean, come on, it's fun stuff. Go check out season 2 of What If. It is continuing rolling on. The next episode will drop tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, so keep a lookout for that one. And make sure when you watch that one, watch till the end, because I do have a bit of a question for you guys. So get involved in the comments on that video when it drops and let me know your thoughts on the question that I put out. So let's dive in, you guys. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the memberships on how you can get more involved in the channel. If you want to get $5 off your first order with GoGoalShop when you register with that website, the code for that is in the description. They were kind enough to hook me up with that. So $5 off is a pretty sick deal. And please also go check out the UVE store. Tons and tons and tons of designs in there. We got some brand new Madness shirts designs popping up. Of course, we've got the Sevens shirt. That's one of my favorites. I might have to order myself one of those. Had fun putting that one together for you guys. I added some mugs in there now with the designs on them and everything as well. We've got the Trinident, I'm calling it the Trinity Trident. Got the little preview of the Trinity statue in there and everything. We got kid stuff in there now. We've got some girls hoodies, girls t-shirts. There's all sorts of shit. Where's that hat? I'm gonna go show you guys that hat down here. There it is. We got some snapbacks out here as well, rocking everything. This hoodie's pretty legit too. It's got the just the basic design here over in the chest, but tons and tons of stuff out here in the UVE store, you guys. I'm adding new designs all the time, so keep a lookout for that. As always, you guys know that I love hooking you guys up with all sorts of gear, so keep that in mind. Let's get started, shall we? Let me see who's involved in the chat. You guys know I always got a well. Big up, Bill. Bill, is this the Bill? Is this Bill Marshall? Is this very fancy version, William Marshall? Is that your alter ego? If this is Bill, I appreciate it. Welcome. Bill just became a member. William Marshall just became a member of the channel, a starting 11 member. That is awesome. Big up, Bill. Big up for getting involved and joining the community. I do appreciate that. And if it is Bill that I'm thinking of, I owe you some macaroni and cheese, my friend. So I haven't forgot about y'all. But big up, Bill. Thank you for doing that, you guys. Danny B in the house. Big up, crew. Welcome. Yes, everybody give Bill a big thumbs up, a big fist bump, whatever you got to do, welcoming to the community. The memberships are the best way to get involved in the content as well. You can get suggestions for the questions from a boot when we do that. You can get suggestions for scouting reports. You can get involved in ideas for the What If episodes. And you can get your own very special custom triptych shirt design. You can pick any 3 United shirts, and I will recreate them in a smaller version, put all 3 on the chest of a t-shirt, and put that shirt in the store for not only you, everyone else to be able to purchase that as well. And you get to be named after you as well. So that's just one of the many perks. It's really hard to come up with great ways to get you guys involved like that, but I do what I can. Rob, big up, Rob. I'm digging this avatar you got down here, Bob. Um, that little devil with boxing. That's legit, man. Big up, though. How are you guys spending your next 25 minutes of deadline day getting involved? Danny says, off work over rain, so I'm on the deadline day. LA Kush getting nice. Manchester United fan games back in the house. Good evening, Sean. Heard something about Xerxes and Osman shop. We are all over it today. We will be talking about that as well. Sanjay's in the house. Big up, Sanjay. Big up, my friend. Hope that you are doing well, having a good time. Somebody said Casper, but I don't see Casper popping up anywhere. So, any case, let's get started. And Justin, what's good? What's really good, dude? I check your mail tomorrow. I got a little Uncle Sean present for baby Gabriel, so I did end up getting him a little gift. So, but yes, can't wait to meet the little guy. I know everyone's just been so busy, but I'm really excited to meet him. But hope everybody's doing well. Let's jump into this news here. So, it is deadline day, but we've been told by a couple of journalists to not expect a whole lot today. I know, wah, wah, wah. Mike Keegan, though, does say that we are still engaging in ongoing talks for Bryan Mbeumo. I wouldn't really worry about these Spurs rumors either. I don't really think that's going to be a thing. Thomas Frank wasn't enough to keep him at Brentford. I don't think Thomas Frank's going to be enough to take him to Spurs. And I just don't think Spurs... I mean, Thomas Frank hasn't even been announced or anything yet, right? So I don't think that's going to happen. We're very far along, and Mbeumo rejected other clubs to come to United. It's just a matter of getting that fee agreed. So it is what it is. David Ornstein, though, does claim that we could see developments this week. Now, you're not allowed to sign anyone, but that doesn't mean that while this week off break of the transfer window means you can't work on stuff. You just can't announce. You can sign anybody technically throughout the whole year before the window. It's just you can't fully officially do it until the window opens. That's why you see clubs constantly confirming deals. I mean, Dortmund have confirmed people in November before ahead of the summer window. It just happens. Stephen Railston adds that we could see confirmation of a second bid for Mbeumo, but not until after the window reopens on the 16th. So again, we're getting all sorts of reports. Not to expect some. We're still ongoing. We got the report to the second bid, right? We haven't made one yet. I think because we're just trying to make sure that when we make one, it's the one that we're the clubs are talking. Hey, what do you want? I don't know. What do you think? How much is this? What kind of structure do you want? Do you want any add-ons? We want to pay it 5-year increments. You want it in 3 years. We're not going to bother making the bid until we've been told, yep, that's going to work. That's just how this has worked. I don't think it's just avoiding an unnecessary back and forth, right? There's technology now. You can have chats before you just send a fax and then wait for a fax to respond. Might as well send it on a dinosaur at that, right? But big up. Oh, Manchester United fan games is Casper. Oh, big up, man. Well, I did not realize that. I was here going where the fuck is Casper? Who's talking to Casper? But I big up, man. And Danny says, yeah, big up. I remember the good people. Big up, Man United fan games. Love it. So you have a new thing? Is that what's going on? Is that an official thing? I'll have to go check that out if it's so. But big up. Can I call you Casper? And it's just quicker than saying Man United fan games. So, so we will probably go in on that second bid. It sounds like we're just kind of talking over with Brentford. I think Laurie Whitwell said something similar to that effect earlier today as well. I don't really think the fee is going to be an issue. I think that the total potential, with add-ons, and then I think mainly it's going to be the structure of this Mbeumo deal that's going to be the sticking point. Like Wolves, remember when we did the Cunha deal? I'm sure Brentford want more money up front, and I'm sure they don't want it spread over 5 years. I'm sure that helps us, but it doesn't help them. So, United are going to try to propose terms that benefit us. Brentford are going to counter with the ones that, benefit them. This is all how transfers work. This is just very normal. It's like buying a house or bidding on eBay or something. I always lowball on eBay. People on eBay probably hate me, but you'd be surprised at how little I've paid for some top quality jerseys over the years, just because I go in low, like almost insultingly low sometimes. I am absolutely shocked sometimes at what I get away with on eBay, but we'll see. Ben Jacobs adds too that we're readying a second bid. So if we're readying a second bid, if we're going to be making a second bid, I think that means that terms have kind of been agreed by all parties involved, and it's set to go forward. But I don't know if it's going to happen within the next 20 minutes. So Rob says big ands to Brentford. I saw Kieran McKenna linked earlier, and then there was another guy. I forget his name now. Rossignor, is that his last name? Luis Rossignor. I can't remember the name, but I saw McKenna linked. McKenna could be a good fit. I think. Did McKenna do enough though this season with Ipswich to warrant, kind of going to a Premier League club, or does if he can get Ipswich promoted again, maybe. But remember I said last summer when we were linked, like, I need to see more from McKenna in the Premier League. I need to see what he can do. And for me, I think a big testament to what he can do is if he can keep them from being relegated. Obviously, that did not happen. The step up to the league looked a little too daunting for some players that were balling out in the championship, like Leif Davis, for instance. Liam Delap obviously had a bit of a solid season. He got himself a move. There are a couple players still at Ipswich. I would take Leif Davis. I think he could be an excellent kind of first choice left side to and allow Dorgu to kind of grow and develop. But then again, we're looking at younger profiles. Dorgu is a first team footballer. I mean, he was kind of a big Ineos/Amorim signing. Maybe that's just the way it is. Amorim has a track record of not only signing very young players, but also developing these players as well. Look at guys like Cunha. Look at all the young center backs that he's worked with, guys like Inacio, Debas, Diamande. I mean, he doesn't mind young players. He's kind of like Mourinho in that regard, where he prefers younger players in those maybe like further back roles, players that are a little bit more like sponges, that are willing to listen a little bit more, because we've seen he does not like volatile personalities. So Casper says, when are we getting Ryan Mbeumo and Victor Gyokeres done? Well, it sounds like, Mbeumo the second bid could be going in any time. I don't know if we're going to get that locked in before the deadline which is in about 15 minutes, but let's see what you guys say. I do put out that poll. So you guys, 82% of you think it's going to be a deadline day done deal. You guys think that we could get that done within the next 15 minutes or so. I like your positivity for sure. Danny says, Mbeumo will be soon, as Gyokeres isn't a definite. Could drag until the end of July, in his opinion. Interesting. Manchester United, Casper says, and do a time frame. We get this done. Gyokeres is a long way off, according to Sky Sports News. Well, according to some other journalists, it could be Mbeumo, and we're prioritizing Mbeumo and then moving on to Gyokeres after we get that done. I'm not a huge fan of the get one done and then we start another one. You're allowed to get multiple deals done at once. Like City had 4 players in January alone. Like, it's something we have to start getting better at. I'd like to see us stop waiting until the transfer window opens to start doing stuff, and I'd like to see us working on multiple deals at once. Now, I'm sure we probably are. We're not seeing a whole lot otherwise. So Danny says, my other Vélez target, Alvaro Montoro, went to Botafogo. Oh, that's a bummer. Danny says, all 3 gone: Gomez, Ordonez, Montoro. Who's the other one I saw? Santino Andino, was that his name? He was another one I was looking at out there. If that sounds familiar, let me know. So some of you say, I'm going to close this poll out. So 25% of you guys still think we can get this done today. Big up. Rob says, all these players just finished international football and going on a holiday. Yeah, I mean, they're used to it, though. The summer window opens, after the season ends. So most of these players are going to be on. They're going to have to cut their holidays short, though, if they're going to come do their medicals and whatnot. So from what I've read, Cunha has left Brazil team coming to do his medical, and then we'll probably do an announcement, and then he'll go enjoy a couple weeks or whatever. This is why I don't like these friendly tournaments during the summer. It's a little boring now, right? Without World Cup or Euros. I don't mind that every now and then, but I like to just only necessary football on these players' legs. If we pay their wages, let's let them focus on that. But what are you going to do? So, Mbeumo today or no, let me know. We're going to move on to some Gyokeres updates, you guys. So the big news coming out of Portugal yesterday. Now, this was from Record in Portugal, that Victor Gyokeres' relationship with Sporting Lisbon has sort of hit a bit of a rough patch, almost to the point where it's kind of breaking down a little bit. So allegedly, Gyokeres is furious that Sporting have apparently gone back on this handshake gentleman's agreement that they had, that he could go if an offer of like 60 million came in this summer. I think it was like 60 million plus 10 add-ons or something. If they got an offer like that, that was the gentleman's agreement that they had. Now the claim coming from Record is that Sporting have now actually been, as they've been talking to interested clubs, they've actually been demanding upwards of like 80 million plus in these conversations with other clubs when people have wanted to ask about Gyokeres, basically pricing him out of a move for a lot, going back on what they said. Now, again, it's a report. We'll see. I mean, a lot of people are looking at the surrounding stuff. So, like, apparently Gyokeres has now removed any mention of like Sporting from his Instagram account. He's started following Bruno Fernandes on Instagram because apparently that means something now in transfer language. But here's what I take away from this. I don't care who it is, you guys. I don't care how much you trust somebody. Get that shit in writing. Just get it in writing. Handshake agreements are only as quality as the person shaking your hand. Like, get it in writing. I don't care what it is. Because this is the kind of stuff that happens, right? Danny says, no, Mbeumo will be done in a few days to a week. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get maybe some sort of announcement because you can still announce stuff even if the paperwork's not signed, right? Maybe we'll dust off the piano. We'll get the piano out of storage that Alexis Sanchez used. Maybe we'll rent another helicopter like we did for Juan Mata. Remember that? That was freaking badass when Juan Mata rocked up to Carrington in a helicopter. You guys, that was probably my favorite announcement so far. That was pretty sick. Casper says, did you see the leadership press conference from Bruno handing around the trophy post press conference? What a leader. Yeah, people who don't think Bruno is a leader just because he yells at the ref or something sometimes. These are people who don't like Bruno and they're focusing on one small aspect of him as a player and they're basically using that, they're generalizing that and saying that's the reason. And it's fine if you don't like it, but it doesn't mean he's a bad. It just means he's not the kind of leader that maybe you prefer, or you just don't like that aspect of who he is as a player. It is what it is. One of the best captains we ever had, Roy Keane, literally just was probably the most emotional guy you're ever going to meet in your life. The dude just could start an argument in the checkout line at the grocery store. He could start an argument in an empty room, Roy Keane. So I don't have a problem with that. Danny says 60 million pounds will land Gyokeres, I hope. I mean, if Harry Kane is what was he when he went to Bayern? 29, 30. If he went for like 100 million, if a 29, 30-year-old Harry Kane goes to Bayern Munich for that much, then getting Gyokeres, a 27-year-old Gyokeres for 60 million is got to be the bargain of the century, like hands down. It still boggles my mind that there are United fans who don't want. It's not that they're like, oh, I want this player more than Gyokeres. They literally don't think he'll be good. I just don't get it. I really don't get it, but it is what it is. Doro Hedoro, did I say that right? Newsflash, Bruno is the most overrated player. Interesting. Well, the stats might argue with that, but to each his own. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate that. Every opinion is welcome. I will challenge you, though, if you have an opinion, I agree with it, whether or not, you have to be able to back it up. Like, give me a reason. We can't just say like brown cows are better than white and black cows. Like, where are you getting that from? Let me see some empirical evidence to support that. It's okay if you think that's your opinion. If you think Bruno is overrated, but what you said was a statement, not an opinion. So Danny says, Keane abandoned his country before a World Cup knockout game. Don't think Bruno does that. And that's from an Irishman. And Keane held such a bad grudge that he literally ended Erling Haaland's dad's career. He literally waited for that guy to come back on the pitch and just mullered his knee, man. Like, Kino was something else. That dude was a savage. Doro Hedoro coming back. An American fan who has not seen Paul Scholes play football will never understand how bad Bruno is. I mean, I guess that's true. I guess you got me. I guess you win. I don't know what to tell you, my friend. I guess you have my sincere apologies for being American. I guess if that's the xenophobic route you want to take it. But hey, welcome to the channel. You just gave me a view. So big up, Doro Hedoro. That opinion was worth a view. So that's so funny. Box says, who is Paul Scholes? Big up, Box. Welcome back, buddy. Good to see you again, my friend. So Sporting are just apparently making it pretty difficult for Gyokeres to leave, kind of like I said, going back on this handshake agreement that they had. But there's one Sporting player who's kind of looking forward to Gyokeres leaving. So this is coming off the back of an interview with TV2 Sport. Now, young Sporting striker Conrad Harder has actually urged Gyokeres to move on to his career. He's basically saying he's ready. He's saying he's ready to fill Gyokeres' shoes. So this is what Harder had to say here. He says, "I've been waiting for a year to have regular playing time, so I feel ready and I'm looking forward to it. I don't think about the fact that it's Victor that I have to replace, but the truth is that it's a huge void that I have to fill." Oh, there's a typo there. My bad. Oh, no, it's not a typo. He says, "I want to play. But Victor is a really cool guy, and I feel really good with him. Now he has to try something new, too. He has already proved everything he has to prove in the league. He has proved that he needs to be at a higher level, so maybe it is his time to do that." Big words coming from the youngster, taking over, filling the void that he left. Bigger shoes, too, for him to fill as well. When you look at some of the numbers Gyokeres has put up. I mean, Gyokeres has scored 97 goals in just 102 appearances for Sporting. Those kind of numbers are absolutely insane. And we could have that at United. We could have that at United. That's crazy. Mark Ogden claims that, again, like I said earlier, we're prioritizing Brian and Mbeumo, and then we're going to focus on Gyokeres. Maybe he can come and get 97 goals. Are you guys bricked up about that?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, me too. Let's see what we got going on in this chat here, y'all. Let's see. Casper says, he handed the trophy to Ronaldo. That's Bruno. I've got a lot of time for. Yeah, I think we all have a lot of time for Bruno's chance creation. The guy should easily have at least 20 more assists than he has. If we just have some better attackers, people who could put away these chances. The guy has to play basically two positions in this system. He has to play advanced playmaker, chance creation guy, and he's also got to play deep lying playmaker. He's always got to have to drop deep because nobody else can do it. He's literally carried this team since he arrived. He's led the league in so many stats. His goal involvements are absolutely insane. It's just ridiculous to me. Dorado coming back. Brother, Bruno is a stat pattern. Most selfish player. I'm going to have to beg to differ on that. When Rashford was in a downward slump, Bruno is the penalty taker. Bruno gave the pen to Rashford. I forget what match that was because he knew that Rashford needed that. He knew that Rashford needed to get back into that goal. That goal was going to help. When Ethan Wheatley came on as a sub the year before this past season, with 9 minutes left, Bruno turned to him and said, "I've got 9 minutes to get you a goal." Bruno only lives to create chances. The problem is nobody in this team can put him away. We've literally Mbeumo and Cunha, if you combine their goals last season, they've got just 9 less than our entire team. We can't score goals, and Bruno does literally everything he can, and eventually he's just got to be the one to do it. How many times does he lose possession? It's so funny to me, the people who want to pick and choose that kind of stat. You can go back 6, 7, 8 years and look at how many times Lionel Messi loses possession. He was literally the top player when it came to how many times you lose possession. It's a very lazy stat to put out there because if you look at the players who do lose possession most of all, it's usually the most creative players. It's going to be your Messis, your De Bruynes, your Brunos. That's because these are the only players who can do these things and try something. It's just the way it is. I feel like this is academic at this point, this whole, losing possession kind of thing. Zero physicality. Go look at Bruno's percentiles when he plays in a deeper role when it comes to tackles and stuff. He's literally up in, I think it's the 80th or something. Hold on, let me go check. I'm going to go look right now. I'm going to go do this right now because I'm just going to go through your claims and we're going to knock them back at left and right because they're just absolutely baseless. So midfield, Bruno tackles per 90 versus midfielders when he plays midfield, 70th percentile. It means he's in the top 30%. If you want to compare him to when he's playing attacking mid, oh, sorry, my computer's being slow. Top 4%. Interceptions, top 14%. Blocks, top 25%. Clearances, top 10%. Aerial duels, top 25%. What else you got? You got to do better than that. But welcome to the channel. Appreciate it. Zero spatial awareness. All right, cool. Box says, we all started watching. Yes, we all know that football didn't start till the early 90s. We all know that. That's the rule, right? Goals for George. Welcome back, man. It says, maybe United fans have been burnt too many times by hyped up signings. Hence the skepticism towards Gyokeres. Osimhen gets more backing from older fans who have seen top strikers. Osimhen, I'm not saying one. I think this is the problem too sometimes with fans. And appreciate that Goals for George getting involved, is that people are too quick to turn this into a either or argument. We saw it when Bruno arrived, and everybody turned it into a Pogba versus Bruno. Like, just because I like Gyokeres doesn't mean I think Osimhen is crap, and vice versa. I've just watched more of Gyokeres because I don't watch Turkish football. I watched Gyokeres a lot when he was at Coventry, and I did. You guys see, I did that. I showed you that scouting report I did on him during his last season at Coventry when he and Chuba Akpom were like going head to head for that goal scoring record. I just like Gyokeres because I watched him a little longer. That's all. Both players are good. I think Gyokeres' wages are probably going to be cheaper as well. Rob says, yeah, for me, I saw that quote from Rio. For me, Gyokeres is not the guy for Manchester United. And everybody's got an opinion. I do think some of Rio's takes are a bit off the mark sometimes, but I think that about Kino and Scholes and Neville sometimes too. But that's just, everybody's going to have different opinions. So, Doro, how many shots did Bruno have last season? How many times did he score? Well, he's our top scorer at the club, so that's all that really matters eventually. So, I mean, it's the same thing when people were giving us crap the year before last with how many shots we conceded. Cool, we conceded a lot of shots, but look at where those shots came from too. Like, shots is just, I mean, you're reaching. It is what it is. You're reaching, but we all know that. Bach says, if Rio's saying that, I sort of think Gyokeres is the real deal. Just go, right? Just take whatever Rio says and do the opposite. Bach says, the Bruno hate is strange. It's okay. Like, I get that Bruno might not be everyone's cup of tea. Like, it is what it is. But there's one thing to just say, he's not my kind of player. I don't like Paul Pogba. Like, in the midfield that we had in the Premier League, I don't think Pogba was quite necessarily adept to the Premier League. Doesn't mean he's a bad player at all. Pogba's press resistance was just not good. He wasn't very super quick, and he held on to the ball too long. He lost the ball a lot in those deep positions, and he just defensively, he was an absolute liability. But was he an excellent footballer? Yeah, he was. He just, kind of like Sancho, it just doesn't really suit the Premier League all that. At least not this kind of system either. Pogba will do fine in a counterattacking system where he can whip those long balls in all day long. So Casper says, I fear was speaking to my brother about United this morning. If we get the players in, what do we finish 17th again? Well, we don't have Amorim won't have an excuse. If we get these players, if we're starting this build and he's getting the kind of personalities that he needs, he's getting some of these other players off the books, and he doesn't really have an excuse at that point. So let's see what we got here. Oh, Doro, it's just, I'm going to let you kind of go like a toddler and just kind of get it all out, bud. But I don't want to read through all of it because I don't want to derail the whole chat with a big argument. So Rob says, I'm not a big fan of Bruno, but our team is constantly changing due to injuries, and there's no chance for on-pitch consistency. Yeah, and you see it all the time. You've seen it with the whole center back partnerships and then goalkeepers. How many different center back partnerships did De Gea have? How many did Onana have? Now Onana's still, to me, not a good enough goalkeeper, but a lot of that stuff is the same. When we had, I think we had a consistent, not this past season, the season before, I think we had center back pairing, the most consistent one we had. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but it was it might have been Leach and Varane, and it was maybe 6-7 times that they played together. We were constantly having to chop and change all that. And it's not conducive to familiarity, with fluidity, with good partnerships, with good relationships on the pitch. You see that with your fullbacks and your wingers and whatnot. You have to get that time. This is why I do think a preseason is going to help a lot. But we'll see what happens. Amorim's got a lot of pressure. Boxes, I think a lot of the Bruno hate comes from Pogba FC. I mean, if Pogba FC are still kind of mad, I just don't get that. But it is what it is. Imagine just fan base who supports its players. That would be cool. Criticize, yes, even the managers, you can criticize, but you can do so without condemning. It's not hard to do. This is something grown-ups do. It's just is what it is. So Goal says, I watched highlight reel of Gyokeres that just focused on his aerial threat and tight marking by defenders, and he looked average. If he comes up against big physical center backs, I will be concerned. I'm not super concerned about Gyokeres, to be honest. He knows Amorim's system. He's a very good goal scorer. He does very, very well. Even at Coventry, he was doing very, very well. He's very physical. He's very fast. I'm not worried. I mean, honestly, you flip a coin at this point between Gyokeres and Osimhen. Both are good strikers. I think both improve us. Both offer goals. I just lean more towards Gyokeres. It is what it is. There's not really a right or wrong. So what are you going to do? I saw some random reports, though. One of you guys mentioned it earlier, that there's some Italian outlets that are claiming that United could explore a swap deal for Victor Osimhen. that could involve Xerxes. I'm not really sure where this Xerxes stuff popped up. He's only been here a year. Not really sure. And he was technically an Ineos signing as well. Has Xerxes not done very much to make you guys think that he could already be out the door? We saw those Oshiman and like with a Hoyland swap deal with cash. I've seen the Garnacho plus cash swap deal for Oshiman rumors popping up. There's a lot of opportunities there, I think, if Oshiman is. It's just those wagers are going to be hard. I mean, the guy, I think Oshiman's ultimately, I think he could very easily go to either Al Hilal or PSG. I think he's asking for a lot of money. Al Hilal keep upping their salary, and he keeps saying no. PSG reportedly could be interested. We'll see what happens there, but Oshiman's wages could be a big get. But if we still get him, then we're still going to be all the better for it. I think he's an excellent striker. What we got here? What we got going on here? Doro Hidoro, compare Bruno with any top midfield from Liverpool. Well, you lost me at Liverpool already because no, absolutely not. Every Liverpool midfielder goes to bed wearing Bruno pajamas. Like, that's just is what it is. Like, it just is what it is. Look at his numbers, my guy. Odegaard wishes he could be Bruno. Like, it's just, come on. Like, I think you're just trolling now at this point, and we don't do trolls here, so. Cash says, I heard Lucas Chevalier, goalkeeper, heard Pogba might go to Monaco. Is that who it is? Chevalier. Bucks like Chevalier. I like Chevalier a lot. He's just going to be expensive. We're going to talk about Chevalier in a hot second, but we're not quite done with striker talk. So there was a new Italian journalist. I'm not familiar with this guy. You guys let me know if you've seen a lot from this guy. His name is Romeo Agresti. Now, he claims that the previous Juventus sporting director who recently left, his name was Cristiano Giuntoli. Apparently, according to this journalist, this old Juve sporting director was working on some sort of a swap deal to bring Rasmus Højlund to Turin, and somehow Douglas Luiz was going to be included in this deal. I don't know. It literally just came out of nowhere this morning when I was looking around online. This is before he got sacked, though. This is not the first time Højlund's been linked to a return to Italy. We've seen him linked to Napoli, Inter, Juventus as well. This is not the first time we've been linked with Douglas Luiz either. We saw those stories a couple weeks back as well. Like I said, I like Douglas Luiz. I liked him when he was at Villa, but his injuries are just a bit of a worry for me, to be honest. And to me, with just how many injury-prone players we've had, injuries are a huge red flag. I think Stretford Paddock put out a tweet the other day, and I was thinking, like, they were like, what's the red flag for you when it comes to transfer targets? And I said, like, injuries, especially those tricky little hamstring / ankle injuries, like, because they're so interconnected and they do tend to be long-term issues. I can't deal with it anymore. It's a big red flag for me now. And so we'll see. He could go on and do well, but it's a risk that I'm not willing to take anymore at this point. We've been burnt too many times with guys like Varane, guys like Martial, guys like Mount, Shaw. And even Collier is starting to get a little bit on my nerves with some of these injuries. I worry a little bit about Licha as well. Now, a big part of this is not Licha's fault. A lot of it was contact. But again, it's the long-term implications of those long-term absences, which is why the ACL issue pops up. And so I worry that he's not going to be able to shake some of the long-term impact from some of those big injuries. But we'll see. You never know. But yeah, Douglas Luiz, I've said it before, it's a bit of a no for me. I just don't want to deal with injuries anymore. But what are you going to do? Rob says, in the words of Yoda, the Bruno hate is strong. Yeah, the cognitive dissonance is strong with this one as well. But hey, to each his own. I don't mind. You're going to give me a view. And you're welcome to your opinion. I just need to see some actual backing of it. It's not about right or wrong. You're allowed to have an opinion, but like, I'm just shooting down all your opinions is all. So it is what it is. Goals for George says, when I look at attacking involving Mbeumo, Cunha, Ahmad, and Fernandes, I feel Osimhen fits the target man role better and would be demanding and respected more by the rest. Gyokeres operates in their roles. Gyokeres is going to make these kind of runs that Højlund, we really should be getting Højlund to make. A lot of these off the shoulder into these channel runs. He's very, very quick. He's very good at holding the ball up. These are the kind of runs that Højlund should have been making all year, that when you've seen him make them, something typically happens. And we don't always score, but something happens. When we start playing Højlund, when we insist on playing him as some sort of hold-up striker, like, it just doesn't work. It's just not his game. Højlund needs some space to run, and when he doesn't get that, it's not going to happen. So it is what it is. I think everyone's going to be happy whether we get Osimhen, whether we get Gyokeres. I don't think there's much like difference between the two of them in terms of quality, but it just is what it is. Omar, watching from Bangladesh. Big up, Omar Ahmed. Good up, man. I appreciate the new faces. Always love seeing the new faces, seeing the community go. Make sure you're hitting that like button, guys. Make sure you're subscribing if you are new as well. Lyle, welcome back, Lyle. Yo, Sean, all hail the chat. Is that a Riley? You missed my stink meter sound clip from earlier, man. But big up, man. Good to see you out there. And welcome, Omar, as always. And welcome, Doro Hidoro, as well. I know we're having a little bit of a back and forth, but there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, it's about just having a chat, man. So it is what it is. You're not the first person who's disagreed with me. You probably won't be the last. So it is what it is. Casper says on FC25, he signed all the players we're linked to. Osimhen, Rodrigo. You should sign that. You didn't just start a career mode with Real Madrid? It would be easier. But yeah. So again, the links Osimhen and Xerxes for is some sort of deal with Napoli. I don't know where that came from. I'm just not really feeling it. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. We're going to move on to goalkeepers because we got a couple of goalkeeper updates today as well. This is coming from Get French Football News, who already kind of claimed, United and City were interested in Gianluigi Donnarumma. We talked about that yesterday, but now Julian Laurens actually claims that we've reached out to Donnarumma's agent to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Now, we know Donnarumma is kind of entering the end of his contract a little bit, and he and PSG are kind of stalling. He's only on about $165K a week, so I'm sure that he wants to be paid somewhere on par with some of these big earners at PSG. PSG are not a poor club by any means, so I'm sure he expects that. Even if we doubled that, he would be on, that's less than half of what David De Gea was getting paid his final season. But Get French Football News, though, they go on to claim that we're now also interested in Lille goalkeeper Lucas Chevalier, along with Aston Villa, who look like they might be needing to replace Emi Martinez as well. Now, Lille reportedly want to extend Chevalier's contract, which does expire 2027. But the price is going to be high. Like the quoted price is as high as 70 million euros. That's pricey for a keeper. I like Chevalier. I think he's an excellent keeper. He is the priciest keeper option out there probably right now. Maybe a year ago you could have argued Diogo Costa, but I don't think he's been all that great since we were linked to him that summer. We signed Onana personally. The problem is I just don't know how big of a priority keeper is. It sounds like maybe we're putting the feelers out because we're probably going to have Binder leaving. I would sell Onana in a heartbeat and replace him. You guys know that. But I don't know if in terms of, when I say priority, I don't think that means we're just not interested. I think that financial priority, we got a finite amount of money. We've got to make some sales too. I don't think we're going to put a lot of that money towards a keeper right away. I just don't think our biggest transfer is going to be a keeper, basically. Plus, if PSG and Donnarumma can't figure it out, I can absolutely see Chevalier going to PSG. Coming from one French club to another. It's not the first time we've seen things like that happen. I think he's that good, Chevalier. I think he could definitely go there and do a job. Ben Jacobs did give us an Emi Martinez update today, too. He says that we've actually made exploratory inquiries to see what Emi Martinez might be looking for in terms of contracts and terms and whatnot from his next club. It does sound like Villa are looking to move him off the books, and we've been linked a couple times. 32 years old, World Cup winner. I never thought Emi Martinez was as good as a lot of people said. I do have time for the shithousery. Plus, I do think he's a little bit on the decline. And I wouldn't want to pay a lot of money for Emi Martinez personally, because you're just gonna have to replace him again in a couple of years, which you guys know I'm not a big fan of. I'd rather get him if he was free. It'd be one thing. He's not free. I'd rather get a younger keeper, maybe someone in their 23, 24, 25 ish, and hold on to them for a while. But all this to say, the Onana rumors aren't going away. At least the Onana replacement room. We've been linked to so many keepers over the last few months. Maybe everybody watches this channel and they agree that we need a keeper front first and foremost. But they're not going away anytime soon. So we've been linked to Woodburn, Sene Lamens at Royal Antwerp as well. It looks like Joan Garcia is going to Barcelona. So It is what it is. What are you guys saying here? Da 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 da. Let me get back up here. Hold up. Goals for George says, I think Højlund is deluded and lacks self-awareness. I think he lacks confidence for sure. You say, I actually believe he does not watch his replays and does not realize he's actually that poor. His statements are beginning to annoy me. Well, Højlund needs a little bit more one-on-one time with his coaching. He's struggling in so many areas, and it either looks like he just is either flat out refusing to do anything differently, which I don't believe, or he's just not getting enough focused coaching, which he does need to do, whether that's on his own, like Cheeto did when he was in the academy, or if, Amorim and his staff need to say, no, we need to bring in someone to work with him specifically on what we're looking for. I don't know, but something's got to improve because he's running out of time he's already run out of time for me. You guys know I was one of his biggest defenders, and it's kind of like a too little too late thing now. But Danny says, I'd say he's doing this for a new deal. Donnarumma, yeah. And that's kind of what I said yesterday. It does seem like he's like, you know what, I'm making 165K a week. I'm one of the top 5 keepers or whatever in Europe right now, Champions League winner. It sounds like maybe, he's wanting at least something that's on par. Now he's coming to the end of his contract. It's not anything we haven't seen before from any other player, so it is what it is. Yeah, Joan Garcia went to Barca. You guys are talking. The goals for George. So Donnarumma is using United clout to get higher wages. PSG players do this to get pay bumps at their clubs. Yeah, we've seen it all before. I remember Sergio Ramos from 2014. Jay, welcome back, Jay. It's funny. We've not made any defensive reinforcements. I think that a defender is just not super high on our priorities right now. I think it's something that we've got Fredrickson who's coming through, who's probably going to be 6th choice. Heaven is probably looking like 5th choice. Maguire, Yoro, Delit, Mazraoui. Licha will be back maybe September-ish, October. I would expect him to be maybe match fit by October from the sounds of things. He's going to be back on grass training on his own soon. So, which is much, much faster than I thought. I will say, I hope it's not rushing it, but if he's making it a flat out recovery, then cool, awesome. We'll see how it goes. Again, this is the 3rd long-term injury he's had since he's joined United, and that is what worries me. So we will see. Again, not his fault, but it is a worry. Casper says, I see a situation where I can see it. I can definitely see it. I think it's one of those situations where, if we get an offer, but I don't think it's something we're actively looking to do at this point. It would be something that I would actively do, but I'm not in charge. So it is what it is. But he would have been a first name. I would have just been like, you know what? You're done, man. You're costing us points, man. You just are. Buck says, Lamens and Svilar been like, yeah, we've been linked to Svilar a couple times. Remember, we played, Svilar was in net as a teenager when we played, I think it was Celta Vigo several years ago. I think that was under Mourinho. He gave up kind of that. I think they ended up calling it an OG or something. We had a shot. He made the save, but he caught it, but he was on the other side of the line in net, so it counted as a goal. So young guy, but isn't he at Roma? And he's doing pretty well, I think, right now. So then he says, I think we will if we make sales. Yeah, big up, Darko. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Cass says, my opinion. I'd keep Binder. I think all things being equal, yeah, we probably want to keep him, but I think Binder wants to go play first-team football, and I think that he's well within his rights to demand that. Now, I don't think that Arsenal match was a bit of a flash in the pan for Binder, but I do think he wants to go play. He can go back to Turkey and start. Probably that's where we got him from, Fenerbahce. So it is what it is. We've been looking at some younger. We've got keepers. We just got rid of one and from the academy, which we'll talk about later. So. Rob says, no point in having the best front line if Maguire and Onana are starters. Maguire, I'll challenge you a little bit because I think he's stepped up a lot this season. He was in with a shout for player of the season, in my opinion. Onana for sure, though. Onana is just a flat-out liability. He just is. He just looks like a deer in headlights whenever the opposition get within 20 yards of him. He refuses to come off his line like he's been told, you'll get shot if you do. He constantly palms shots back into the center of the box. Justin and I were at that Brighton match when he did that exact. How many times has he done that? I was at that Galatasaray match 2 years ago with the big fuck up between him and Casemiro that led to a pen. He is not good enough. I don't care if he's comfortable on the ball when it comes to building out from the back. There's so much more important things to goalkeeping than that. I get the system needs it. But I just can't anymore with him. It just is what it is. Rob says, apparently United are looking at defense. We'll throw some names out there, man. Danny says, keep an eye on Balka at Nice towards the end of the window. Cheap deal. I saw Balka rumors to Galatasaray. I believe that was the rumor. I like Balka a lot. He was on my list. I did a scouting report on him for the website that I have, and that was a couple years ago. But I gave up on Balka the same time I gave up on Todibo because at the time we weren't allowed to sign players from Nice. You remember we were both in Europe. That's why we didn't get Todibo. Although I'd say we kind of sidestepped the landmine with Todibo because he hasn't really impressed at West Ham. But what are you going to do? You guys remember Todibo? You remember all that stuff? That was funny. I do like Balka a lot. I think he's a very good, the incredible Bulk, we'll call him. Big keeper. Yeah, he's a massive guy. Goal says, Binder looked like a deer in headlights and made Onana look good. That Newcastle match was just painful to watch. Binder just did not cover himself in glory. You could argue that Carabao Cup match against Spurs was probably the same, but yeah, I think the Arsenal match was kind of a flash in the pan, personally. Binder's not bad. He's just not, I don't think he's that top level keeper, pure presence. Yeah, I want someone in that who can make a save, who commands his box, who's not afraid to come out for crosses, and who can, I don't need you to be fucking like prime, I don't know, Messi on the ball in and around your box. I don't need you to Cruyff turn people or anything in your box. I don't care about that. Pick a pass. Be comfortable enough to pick out simple passes to your wingbacks. Like simple, like 30-yard pings should not be difficult for any keeper with time and space on the ball. They just shouldn't. You shouldn't kick it out of touch every time you have a goal kick. It shouldn't happen. And Onana does this left and right. It's so annoying. Buck says, I like Inacio, Vanderson, Juan Jimenez, but I'd loan him out. Interesting. Casper says, I agree. I'd sell Onana if we get a decent. Oh, yeah. If we get anything more than like 20 million, just go. Just let him go. We can't do this anymore. So moving on. Let's talk about Antony. So we've spoken about Antony a few times in recent months. We talked about his form at Real Betis. Talked about some clubs that have been linked to him, obviously some Juventus links recently as well, et cetera, et cetera. But his name has popped up again this morning, and this time it's in the context of his move to United from Ajax. Now, you guys have probably seen this mentioned in a couple other channels, but I haven't got a chance to hear your thoughts on it yet, so indulge me. So there's this Dutch journalist named Bart Nolles, and he recently wrote a book called Liverpool and the Dutch. That's a translation, basically. Now, you're like, I know, Sean, what does this have to do with United? Well, it doesn't have. It wasn't just all Liverpool. It was talking about a lot of the Dutch stuff going on in the Premier League in this last season. So Nolles had interviews with several Dutch players, coaches, staff, physios, agents, all this kind of stuff. He held all these interviews and stuff. One such individual was Kees Voss. You guys might remember his name. He is the head of the SEG agency, whose clients include Erik ten Hag and several of the players that we signed for United under Erik ten Hag. You remember the big controversy was all these players were suddenly switching to SEG when they were coming to United. So he met with the guy, Nolles met with the guy who runs that agency. So Kees Voss basically claimed that ten Hag was actually against the signing of Antony late on in the window, mainly due to the fee. Remember, it was a huge fee. And Voss even went on to claim, according to Nolles, that ten Hag tried to prevent United from signing him. So this is what Kees Voss reportedly had to say. He said, ten Hag and Voss were not, or Nolles, this is what he had to say. Ten Hag and Voss were not in favor of this and wanted to put a stop to transfer. But the club wanted to push through at all costs because apparently Arsenal was also interested in Antony. So we all saw we went for Licha after Arsenal got interested as well. So we ended up doing that same with Antony as well. Big interesting. So Knowledge reports that United were so frightened of losing out to their competition that they went ahead and paid that enormous transfer fee anyway, despite Ten Hag's warnings. And this is what else Knowles had to say. He said, although Ten Hag did not support this transfer, it stuck with him throughout his entire time in Manchester that he took over the attacker from Ajax for this ill-fated amount who was never able to fulfill his promise. So basically, Ten Hag wanted Antony. When late on in the window, when Ajax upped their asking price, he decided, no, not worth it. And the club went ahead with it anyway because they didn't apparently want to be seen to lose out to a player to Arsenal. So keep that in mind. Antony could have been an Arsenal player instead. Now, take all this with a grain of salt. Again, this is coming from a journalist writing a book, talking to the head of the SEG agency that represents Ten Hag. So it's not exactly like it's unbiased. Again, I'm just telling you what the guy said. Now, I absolutely think that Ten Hag wanted Antony in June, though, when he was available for like 30 or 35 million. But again, like I said many times, the club waited until August to make their move, and the price skyrocketed. So I can also see Ten Hag in that opinion, in that regard, wanting to move on. Like, I don't want to pay that much. Just goes to show, though, whether something is the manager's fault or not, he's typically the one who's going to get hounded for it, the one who's going to carry that blame, or maybe the one who's going to pay the price. Either way, Antony's still shit. So Ten Hag gets a mark against him, at least for his talent identification, for sure. Let me see what we got here. Danny says Arsenal sniffing around Juan Jimenez. Arsenal are sniffing around anybody, man. Anybody, they'll probably play him on the left wing, right? Goal says, Todibo showed that leagues matter. I wouldn't go near him now. Being dropped by West Ham to the bench sums it all. And it's also never a good look, though, when it's always hard. When you're signed for one manager and then that manager gets sacked and then a new manager comes in. That's like the worst time to be a player, right? Just like it's the worst time to be a manager when new ownership takes over for a club. So we saw that, right? It's never easy. You really got to either adapt, you got to hope the manager likes you, or you just got to perform. It just is what it is. So it is. I just don't think Todibo has ever really looked up for it since he arrived, which is too bad, really, because he was very good in the French league. But it is, like you're saying, there are levels. Goal says, spin, 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 trying to give Ten Hag positive PR now that he's at Bayer. Bayer would be stupid to back Ten Hag going after his former players. Don't put that out in the universe, Gold. We want them to take Anthony. We want them to take Onana. Take Mount, too, while we're at it. Says German clubs have structure, don't give power to managers. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if he made the same demands when about control over transfers at Bayer Leverkusen as he did when he went to United. Although I would argue Leverkusen have a much better structure than we did when Erik Ten Hag joined. We had no structure. Not hard to improve on that structure. Let it be known. DeBassi's welcome back. So it's not Ten Hag's fault, but it is still Ten Hag's fault. It's just the way football works. Even when you're a manager, you're the one who's going to bear the responsibility. It just is it is what it is. We all know that. Managers are always the ones who are going to get sacked. That's just how it works. That's why I say whether it's your fault or not, you're going to pay the price. That's the way football works. Casper says, I would like Anthony to still should join Ten Hag. Yeah, let him go. Let him go there. DeBassi says, Brentford have now a week to think about the second bid. Well, we wouldn't have put in a second bid, I think, had we not to come to an agreed terms. I don't think we're doing this back and forth thing. I think we went in with the first bid, and then now we've been talking. And some of the other journalists that I've watched have been kind of saying the same thing. We were not going to bother putting in a second bid unless we know that it's something that's going to get accepted. So this is how transfers work. This is nothing new under the sun, but we'll see what happens. Casper says Jadon Sancho back to Dortmund. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, I think, too. So in some other random news, you guys, there's all sorts of random shit going on right now. Did you see some of this stuff about Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, and Europa League and Conference League and UEFA and all this shit? So let me catch you up. Let me get a drink first because it is bad. I went and stupidly played disc golf earlier. The cottonwood and the pollen are so bad. I was sneezing the whole time. My throat is so dry now. But it was good to get outside. It's a nice day. So apparently, Forest have written a letter to UEFA concerning Palace's involvement in the Europa League. And the letter is basically a complaint on the basis of multi-club ownership. So John Textor, he is Crystal Palace owner. He's got 43% stake in Palace. He also owns Olympique Lyon, who have also qualified for Europe. Lyon were actually banned back in December, but they were allowed back in after they met a few requirements, basically. They've been a shit show financially. Like, they are struggling, which is why I wanted us to go for Turkey, because they need money. But it looks like that's a city thing now. So why do Forest care? Well, if Palace get kicked out again, Forest move up from the Conference League to the Europa League. They basically take Crystal Palace's place if they're a ban. I think Forest are a little butthurt too, because they want to make sure, because they got in trouble last, and they want to make sure everybody gets in trouble. Now, they're just like some little kid who got busted for doing something wrong, and now he's going to bring everybody down with him. That's basically what's happening. And I get it. It is what it is, but it's still a little petty. But and then if that happens, then Brighton take Forest's spot in the Conference League. So Brighton have a little bit of an interest in this too, right? So, but if Lyon stay in, And then the Court of Arbitration for Sport gets involved. We all know how effective they are, right? And then Palace could be in some trouble. So it's interesting. So let's say if Palace and Lyon are both allowed to stay, then you're probably going to see Forest escalate this complaint and take it to a higher level, because they're clearly, Forest have a bit of an axe to grind with the powers that be these days. I read somewhere too that because of all this, Textor is maybe trying to sell a bit of his shares in Palace, so he's not majority stakeholder, whatever, to avoid any sort of complications. That is the thing with multi-club ownership. When people ask, how can City or how can RB Leipzig do it? Because on paper, they show that the same people aren't 100% involved in all these multiple clubs. That's how they get away with it. I'd like to see us do a little bit more of that kind of stuff. I mean, if we're going to do multi-club ownership in EOS, you might as well do it the way everyone else is doing it. But this shit is topsy-turvy. This is why I don't like multi-club ownership. It's just ridiculous. They either have to just get rid of it altogether and not let it happen, or they have to just let shit happen and just accept that this is part of it. I don't get it, but what are you going to do? Let me see what everyone is saying here. Casper says, I think Crystal Palace should get Europa League spot. Well, they do have it. They won the FA Cup, so that's part of it. But the problem is, again, the multi-club ownership. We had this similar situation when it came to transfers with Nice. There's all this talk with Man City and Girona, Savinho, all that shit. I don't know how the RB groups do it and stuff. It just is what it is. But Usman, welcome back. Usman, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. So it's so dramatic. This is like middle school drama here, man. What are you going to do? Goals says Dortmund and Normie with their silly links to Sancho. I wonder about Job going there as being the younger bro to an elite player at the same club. Yeah, they're very original, Dortmund. I'm interested, though, because Dortmund have a lot of midfielders, and Arden Yashari was linked for a while. Now, they just got Joe Bellingham. They paid a pretty hefty fee by Dortmund standards, and for what I can tell, they haven't sold anybody. So does that mean Yashari is now kind of fair game? Fingers crossed. Let's pray for that one, because that would be awesome. I would take Yashari at United in a heartbeat. Then he says, how did Red Bull get away with it? Because on paper, it's all part of the same RB, but at least on paper, it's totally different people kind of running each club. So there's not any sort of overlap there. That's how they get away with it. So I think we should be doing that. So if we're going to have multi-clubs, you might as well start doing what these other clubs are doing and getting away with that shit. Rob says Palace deserves to be. Yeah, and you can, if you win this, but again, you'll notice that nobody's out. None of these pundits are complaining now. They were so poor in the league. Why should they get to play in Europa League? That's not fair. They won the FA Cup. That's part of it. All these people, the same people are complaining about Spurs and United. Why should they get to play in Champions League if they win the Europa League? Look at their league form. A, it's a different competition. B, that's how the Europa League works. You win it, you go into the Champions League. Freaking butthurt Abus, man. I'm so tired of it. It does my head in every time these people open them. How do these people have careers with cameras and microphones in front of them and just get away with this shit? It's beyond me, but it is what it is. Happy Sky or Cullen, man, because they're freaking idiots out there. Cash says, it's crazy Thomas Frank take. Is that been announced? Is that a thing? I know that was kind of the general consensus, but I haven't seen any official announcements anywhere. I'm trying to see if there's any news. Don't see anything popping up. So no, not seeing anything. So Palace, Forest, Brighton, it's all kicking off. We'll see what's going on. I mentioned a couple moments ago when we were talking about keepers that one keeper is going to leave. Now, the club has already announced that Evans, Eriksson, Lindelof are gone, but they've also are going to be releasing several academy players this summer when their contracts run out. They're not renewing a lot of these, and there's 7 of them. So Hubert Gratzik, keeper, Jack Kingdon is going to be leaving. Sam Murray, Tom Miles, James Nolan, and Tom Wooster are all going to be released when their contracts expire. Now, most of us probably won't have remembered. Kingdon, I remember. Gratzik, we've seen him in the matchday squad a couple times. But these guys, their contracts are not being renewed. This has been confirmed. Some of these youngsters have actually made farewell statements online as well. You're always a Red. That's part of the initiative that we have now. According to the club has a couple years ago, Manchester United implemented this aftercare program called the Academy Alumni Program. So what this means is that youngsters who don't get pulled up to the first team, right? Their contracts expire. They don't just get left in the lurch. The club actually provides support, ongoing support, basically career development, and helping these players secure new contracts at other clubs. They get aftercare. They get continued training and whatnot. They're just not. They don't have contracts anymore. That's part of the Academy Alumni Program. It's a really cool program. I really like what I see. I reached out to them today, actually, to talk more about that. You guys know I'm big in the Academy. I'm big in scouting. I'm in that PFA program right now, really wanting to work with the Academy, the scouting process on the mental and emotional aspect of things, being a mental health professional. I have a vested interest in that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. But so we'll see. Tom Heaton. I thought that he was going to get like 1 year renewal, right? Because you need 3 keepers in and around the first team because for training purposes alone. Danny says Murray left back wasn't good enough. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be. Like I've said many times in this channel, you guys know how much I love the Academy. I love our reputation. I just went on a tirade the other day complaining about Alvaro and how I wish we would have just rolled the dice on him. I wish Ten Hag would have had a little bit of confidence just to go with him. And based on just what we already knew about Shaw and Malassi at the time, just say, you know what, I'm back. You guys know that what I've said it many times. But I've also said not every Academy player is going to make it. Doesn't mean they're crap. It just means that they're just not going to make it at United. And that's normal. The percentage of players who start when they're kids and go on to actually play like anywhere near the top level is so small. Like it's such a literally tenths of a percentage. And they know this going into it. Doesn't mean their career's over or anything. They can do a lot. They can go play for anything. They can coach. They can be pundits. They can do scouting. They can do all sorts of things. Go be like Gerard Butler and go coach your kids, little league team. Rob says, does Sir Jim know about this aftercare? Are you worried he's going to cut it, Rob? What's this? Well, we're helping out these youngsters. Now, F it. They're done. No. And you know what? They don't give them free lunches just so we can take them away. That's what I want to do. Castros, I see a situation. We have Emi Martinez and Andre Onana. Emi is the cheaper keeper. He's probably, if we have to pay money for Emi Martinez, I'm not all that interested personally. Unless we get like 25 mil for Onana and we can get Emi Martinez for like 10, 15 for a couple years, maybe. But I think that I'd rather just spend a little bit more and go get. So we could have spent 5 million more than that and gotten Joan Garcia. But once Barcelona got involved for a Spanish keeper, it was always going to be difficult. So a lot of youngsters heading out the door. One youngster for sure who looks like he's going to stick around though is Reece Monroe, who recently signed his first professional contract. He did that today. So big up Reece Monroe. We've seen him captain the under-21s on several occasions. He did feature in the this postseason. I think it was the Hong Kong game that he play in. I can't remember now. They kind of blur together these bullshit friendlies. But yes, Reece Monroe signing his first professional contract with the club. So big up Reece. Good to see the youngsters actually, stepping up a little bit and making. We've got a lot of youngsters. Yes, for all these youngsters that we've lost, that we've gotten rid of, we do have a very, very, very strong academy right now. And you got guys like Kone, Montato, Camison, all the way down to like JJ Gabriel, who's like 14, 15, and he's balling out. And the dude literally played back games, one for the under 16s, and then turned around the next day, played for the U18s, balling. Speaking of youngsters balling out, a couple of our youngsters have also been balling out for their national teams this week. So James Scanlon, I don't know if you guys saw, scored an absolute beauty for Gibraltar. Absolutely. I think that helped them in their World Cup qualification run as well. And then my big point today, if you guys saw the thumbnail, Sekou Kone. Sekou Kone is a absolute little force. He's like a miniature little cyclone. He is a force of nature. He played against the Saudi Arabia U20s, and he was an absolute force. He was dropping deep to break up play. He was making superb passes, linking up in midfield to start launching attack, these quick 1-2s on these counters. He's making these third-man runs to get on the end of stuff. The kid is an absolute beast. He reminds me so much of when he, like the way he holds onto the ball, like beats a press. He reminds me of like just the young, the young Pogba, João Neves, kind of maybe Bruno Fernandes if Doro Hidoro still watching. Sorry, couldn't resist. He's so good. And he's a little quicker. He's so physical. He's so fast. He just wants to get involved. He wants to just get on the ball. He wants to break up play. He's so good. He really needs to be in the first team picture next season. We need to give him minutes, or I worry we will maybe lose him like we did Angel Gomez and whatnot. There are reports I've seen that he could be loaned to Lausanne Sport, the Swiss club that Ineos also own. But I feel like he's one of those. I feel like he's a little better than that level. if he's not going to be in and around our first team picture, he needs a loan at a bigger club. Maybe we send him over to Nice and let him get some minutes there. But we need to build around Sekou Kone in the future. He needs to be looked at right now as this is the guy who's going to control our midfield. This is who we build around in the future. I really think that he has that potential personally. Let me see what we got here. Bow. Debassi says SJM will be happy. No more payments for international flights this season. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, good player. Mini Messi. Scanlon. Yeah, his goal for Gibraltar was an absolute beauty. Danny says Scanlon could be an option. Hope we see him in preseason. We saw he played in the Youth Cup that Justin and I went to back in January. He looked pretty good. Obviously, Cheeto was the standout player in that match. We've got a lot of really good players coming through right now. Shea Lacey, Morehouse, a lot of these guys are just booing it. Matato, Comison. I'd like Comison to get some minutes in that wingback role, let him rotate, maybe get some starts in some of these lower. If we get some decent cup draws, maybe against like some lowered sides, like get your Port Vales, get your Oldhams and stuff, Scunthorpe. Start them. Why not? Ten Hag put Collier at left back in one of the cup games. Like, just get it done. Cash says if Villa let Emmy go to Aston Villa need 2 keepers next season. Yeah, Villa are probably going to strengthen a little bit in keeper, but I don't remember how many of these players. I always forget how many of these guys like Asensio, Rashford, Malen, and whatnot, who was permanent, who was a loan, but they do need a little bit of help. I think, oddly enough, Garnacho could do very, very well at Villa. They play a very similar system to what he excels at, which is why Rashford did so well. So funny driving today, listening to Sirius XM. I forget who it was, but they were just railing on about United, about this 3-4-3 and stuff. And so many people will use 3-4-3 and system. They'll use formation and system like synonymously. They don't mean the same thing. 3-4-3 is your formation. Your system is your system. Very different. And so when people are like, Amorim's got to deviate from this, that's not the system. That's just the formation that we're going with. They talk about like, why couldn't it work with Garnacho? Literally failing to acknowledge his attitude problems since Ten Hag was here. Like, no one cares about that. And like, no one wants to acknowledge that if Sir Alex were still here, Garnacho would be the first one out the door if he had. I mean, like, that's just the way it works. You can't have these little like insolent players at your club. It's toxic. It spreads. It causes problems, as we've seen. Garnacho's had a handful of these disciplinary issues since he really broke into the first team, and it's just, you can't have that. Big up, Rich. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, transfer window is officially closed now, right? It's been closed for about a half hour. Lau says Kone is a firecracker. Vavela's got an eye for talent. We need to build around him in the future. I'm not saying right now, he's young, but this is a player who Vilvel, Amorim, Wilcox, Fletcher, they need to be looking at this kid and saying, yep, he's got it. He's the one we're going to build around for the future. Moving forward, our 5-year plan, Kone is the center of that. Get him alone, get him some minutes, integrate him a year after that. Let's start seeing if he's got it to start leading this midfield. He can literally be our midfield general for years. But Danny says, Scanlon played last year preseason at fullback, if I remember. Interesting. I don't remember a whole lot from last season's preseason until Euro got injured. Rich says, I don't know if there will be loads of opportunities without European football. Yeah, Rich says, I want to go strong in the cups. Yeah, we need to I demand some sort of a trophy this season. Now it's going to feel like a step back after the FA Cup and the Europa League final, but we need a trophy. We just have to. We don't have, we've got 8 fewer games minimally to not have to worry about. Not going to have a whole lot of midweek games. I hope we have some midweek games because these fixture list is going to be released soon. Next week, I think. That's always a fun time because that's when I look at the fixtures on the calendar and I start planning my next trip to Manchester. No European football, though, does make it difficult because I really rely on that midweek game and then that weekend game because if I can get back-to-back homes, that's when I plan my trip typically because it's only worth it if I get 2 matches in for sure. We did get lucky this year, Justin and I, that we had a Southampton match on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and then the Brighton match was that following weekend. Both were back-to-back at home. That worked out nicely. That doesn't happen very often. Maybe there'll be a domestic cup in there. I would love it though. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We got lucky this season. Oh, Rich says, if Garnacho was a better finisher, he'd have 20 goals. System wasn't the biggest issue. No, it's definitely not the system. It's his personality is the issue. He's not getting sold or he's not up for sale because he's bad. I don't think he's bad. He's up for sale because he just doesn't know when to shut up on social media, man. And if he's saying this stuff on social media, what kind of things is he saying behind closed doors too, man? Like he's got to go. Like it just is what it is. I have no personal issue with Garnacho, but like Fergie dropped Beckham just for indirectly being a distraction. It wasn't like Beckham was doing anything insubordinate. He was just proving to be a distraction, and it wasn't helpful. Like Garnacho's actively being insubordinate. Like people can't see that. I don't get it. Some of these freaking people on Sirius XM and TalkSport are just, we know they're talking out of their ass. It just is what it is. Cash says, I think Garnacho should go to Villa. Villa would be a good fit, in terms of the way they play. So Debasi says Cheeto can be loaned too. If you loan Cheeto right now, all you have is Højlund. People were saying we want to sell Højlund. So if you loan Cheeto, you sell Højlund. Now we need two strikers for sure. We already need a striker, even if Højlund stays. If Højlund goes, we're going to need two. I don't know if we have that. Debasi says minimum FA Cup win. We've got to go strong. The problem is again, your FA Cup, you're playing against usually your Premier League rivals, and as we've seen this season, physically they're so far ahead compared to us in terms of physicality, fight mentality. We struggle in the league because everybody's more physical. We did fine in Europe until we got to the final because we were the more physical side against these European sides. We got to Spurs and they out-physicaled us. Onana was Onana. They shut up shop in the second half. Amorim's team selection was a bit off. It all is what it is. But we have to get players that are just more physical. There's more fight. Just that mentality. We need those mentality monsters. So Rich says, ironically, Garnacho's first out the door because he's good. Raises Jokic. Yeah, bye. Garnacho can go, man. If don't sleep on Chelsea because it sounds like they got turned down when they were looking at for Bino Gittins, who I also really like. Chelsea could easily come back in for Garnacho. I forget which journo said it, that Garnacho's preference is to stay in England. I think it was Romano who might have said that. So, or at least in the Premier League. We'll see if he gets his wish, though, if that's true. Danny says, no, we need to keep Cheeto in the 18s, 21 and third choice option. I mean, Wheatley's still around. Is Wheatley leaving? I mean, he's a little older. I mean, never know. Go get Calvert-Lewin on a free. Let him kind of be the rotation option. And Rob says, Cherokee the city official. Interesting. Yeah, we all knew that was going to happen, didn't we? Cash says, I miss Chicharito. We all miss Chicharito. The little P was he was something else. I mean, probably was never going to be our starter week in, week out, but he was, I mean, as a super sub, didn't he score like 14, 15 goals one season off the bench? I think that was like 12, 13, 11, 12. I don't remember off the top of my head. Danny says, fuck no, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Sometimes I just say things just to see what your reactions are. Teresa, big up, you guys. Hi, everyone. In my opinion, Gyokeres has a price tag of $100 million, so all the reported fees of 60, 65, 80 is just wishful thinking. Well, he had a gentleman's agreement with Sporting that if an offer of like 60 million came in, that they would let him leave. Now, the reason that reportedly he and Sporting's relationship is breaking down is because reportedly Sporting they've agreed one fee with him, handshake agreement, but what they've reportedly been telling clubs is this like 20 million more. So that is the report today. That's the story we're talking about a little bit today. And again, even if he was 100 million, it'd be a bargain. Like, look at what Harry Kane went for, and he was a couple years older. I think that Gyokeres is 60 million is like that. If someone told me right now, like Gyokeres, you can get him for 60 million, that would be the first transfer I make in the summer. Like the first transfer I make. And just before the ink is even dry on the check, you grab him by the wrist and you carry him all the way to Carrington and you lock him in a room and make sure nobody tries to renege on it. Rob says Garnacho put his house up for sale a while back. Maybe he knew. Well, we all kind of knew. So Danny says, be lucky to get 65, 79 million euros for Gyokeres. Debasi, the problem is Cheeto needs a lot of first team action. Recently saw his U20 match for his nation. You can tell he needs more game time. And he's very young, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know if Cheeto is quite ready to be our second choice option. And he's at that age where he needs minutes, like you say. So Do we need to get him on loan? Probably means Højlund's going to be here and we're going to get a striker. It's just the way it is. And which is, for Højlund's sake, that wouldn't be the worst thing. It takes a lot of that pressure off of him. But again, you're hoping that he turns it around. And so again, I can only go by what we've seen so far. So it's difficult. Rob says, we're safe from Callum Wilson. Newcastle have extended his contract. Well, thank the Lord. The best is, especially his finishing is up. Yeah, and Cheeto's still young. So we got to be patient with these guys. I don't think the plan for Cheeto was ever to be, hey, you're our second choice striker. This is how you manage youngsters. Now, eventually, some of these youngsters, kind of like, remember Angel Gomez, similar age to Cheeto, wanted first team minutes, wasn't getting it. We let him go. I think he went to like Boa Vista or something, if I remember correctly. It is what it is. Rob says, Onana was reported as looking to buy a house. That guy can't read a room. Yeah, Onana maybe just needs to hold off on hiring a realtor for a hot second. Let's see what happens there. Casper says, Mbeumo ain't signed yet. Probably wasn't going to happen today. I know a lot of you guys in that poll thought it might happen on deadline day, but I think that might have been too soon. So, yeah, I did see those links, Danny. Angel Gomez to Marseille. De Zerbi's cooking something up over there. Now, I saw rumors a couple months back that Greenwood and Luis Enrique, that young wingback that I was looking at, they were having some personality issues. Surprise, surprise. So we'll see what happens. I know Rabiot was talking a little bit about the decision to go to Marseille earlier. I think that was yesterday. So, but we'll see. Marseille are doing something out there. Tobias says, wonder if they will boo us when Mbeumo scores and celebrates. I mean, they can boo us all they want to. It's still not going to change the score, will it? And finally, United's home kit, their new home kit for next season is going to be released in 2 days. So I'm sure everybody will be scrambling. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed in the home kit. I'm a little disappointed in all three kits so far. I think that white one is probably the nicest of the three. I had high hopes for the home strip. I had very high hopes for that black third one, but I think they overdid it a little bit with the little devil logo that they put in the stripes. I thought that was a little too much, personally. It was very busy, but to each his own. Some people like that. So our kit's going to be released in a couple days, so keep a lookout for that one. Bayern, though, released their home kit, and I'm not going to lie, Bayern's kit is gross. Again, everyone's got different opinions, like fashion. I really like that white tiger strip we had a couple years back. Some people call it the zebra kit. I really like that strip, but it is what it is. Not everyone likes it. Some people don't care about kits that much. I really like the design that goes into creating the kits if the kit maker does it well. Like the rows that we had, not this past season, but the season before, I really liked. That kind of thought process goes into that. Even designing club crests, like the badges, there is thought that that goes into that actual design. And so it is what it is. But Bayern's, though, is just an absolute, like, hellish nightmare. I don't know what this is. It looks like something that got ruined in the wash, like someone left a red sock in with the whites. Or it looks like someone's first attempt at trying to tie-dye a t-shirt, like the first one they've ever tried. It just looks weird. It's supposed to be like a pixel or something. It's just, and those two little like white spots at the bottom are just strange looking. I don't like that at all. Their away one's pretty sick, but this one's just weird looking. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Debassi says, what the heck is that? It's so gross. Debassi said, heard some chrome lining was yours. Interesting. Casper doesn't buy football shirts anymore. I don't buy them from the club. I don't like giving the Glazers my money if I can help it. And I don't want to spend 130 pounds on a shirt. If you guys want nice United stuff and you don't want to spend a ton of money, you don't want to give the Glazers money, there is a link and a code in the video description for $5 off GoGoalShop. If you use that code to register, you get $5 off your first order. You guys have seen me get a couple things from GoGoalShop. I've worn them on the channel. They are awesome. Go check that out. They got tracksuits. I got all sorts of shit. But yes, this Bayern kit is a bit of a hellish nightmare. It looks like the floor of a blood bank after a hurricane. It's just so weird, Danny. I'm not going to put that up there. What's the matter with you, kid? Rob says, I'm still after the United 23-24 third kit. They're a designer outlet not too far from me, but normally tons of Arsenals. Go check out GoGoalShop, man. You're talking about the white one with the red. That was probably one of my favorite ones. I've got one over there. You guys saw yesterday. After I did that short, I took a couple shots of the library/studio, so you can see some of the other frame shirts. I've got my rack with all my shirts on it, which it's not a flex. It's an embarrassingly a large amount of shirts. But yeah, I've got that one on there, if that's what you're talking about. Rob says that top wouldn't be good on mushrooms. It's so weird looking. I don't know if they were going for like a V-neck thing. I have no, like, I guess it kind of looks like an M. If you zoom out a little bit, it looks like a giant M, but I'm like, we get it. You're Munich. It starts with an M. It doesn't make sense. Damascus, it looks like the rain washed the colors off. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just not good. Adidas can be a bit hit or miss sometimes when it comes to their shirts. Real Madrid's this season look pretty sick. That I think it's the blue, the away. That one looks pretty lit. It has the collar style that I was really hoping our home shirt would have this year, but we didn't. So I think we had the opportunity for the home shirt to be 10 out of 10. I think this one, it's a little plain for me when it gets released, if it's still what the leaks are saying. So I get not everyone cares. I think it's just interesting. So what are you going to do? But Danny says, I miss Nike. I hate Adidas. Adidas, what I don't like about Adidas is they all kind of look the same, whether it's the training tops or like you remember that the 15-16, I loved the 15-16 shirts. Like I've got like all three of them here, but from Adidas, Bayern Munich, they are on Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, United, they all looked exactly the same that year. It was very, very boring. So Rob says, same guy that designed our stadium has struck again with their shirt. You guys are funny. But that is it from me, you guys. Please make sure you hit that like button. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the memberships to get more involved in the content. Look out tomorrow morning for the penultimate episode of season 2's What If. Make sure you watch to the end, because I did ask you guys for your input on the final episode of season 2. You guys can get involved in that, but let me know in the comments. Check out the United vs. Everybody store as well. I did put up a little bit of a quick kind of overview of that. Tons of new designs in there, new stuff popping up all the time. And then again, if you're looking for shirts, go check out GoGoalShop. You get $5 off with that code. Casper is looking forward to the new Premier League fixtures. Yep, that'll happen next Wednesday, I believe. So could be going to Manchester again or not. Hopefully you guys let me know if you want to see some more videos while I'm there, if I get to go. I had a blast, me and Justin, doing those. So until next time, you guys, enjoy the rest of your day. If the weather's nice, get outside, go do something, kick a ball around, whatever you got to do. Danny, hope it stops raining soon enough. It does get bittersweet because you got to go back to work, but you know, it is what it is. So take it easy, you guys. I will talk to you guys on the next one later.